Welcome to History Turned. The word gladiator instantly conjures a very particular image, doesn't it? A heroic warrior in gleaming armor, sword raised high, fighting for glory before a roaring crowd in the Colosseum. We imagine a life of fame, honor, and the adoration of thousands, where brave men chose to become champions of the arena. But the actual life of a gladiator in ancient Rome was rarely glorious at all. It was an existence forced upon most through slavery, capture in war, or crushing debt that left no other option. It was a world of brutal training, constant fear, and the knowledge that your life existed solely to entertain others, only interrupted by those few terrifying moments when you stepped onto the sand to fight. So tonight, we will strip away the romantic fiction and see what it truly was. We will walk through the gates of the ludus, the gladiator school, and discover the surprising rules and unexpected dignity that existed within those prison walls. We'll learn about the strict diet they followed, the gods they prayed to, and why some men, against all logic, volunteered for this deadly profession. But before we begin, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It's a simple and wonderful way to support the channel, and it means a great deal to me. I'm also always curious to know where in the world you're listening from tonight, so I'd really love to hear from you in the comments. And now, settle in. Let the noise of the modern world fade away, and let us travel back to a time of sand and blood, iron and stone, and the deafening roar of the crowd. Our story doesn't begin with a gladiator. It begins with an ordinary person. Let's imagine that you are this person. You are not a hero, not a villain. You are simply a prisoner of war, somewhere in your early 20s, and your entire world has just collapsed around you. You are standing in chains in a marketplace in Rome, the greatest city you have ever seen. The journey here was a nightmare. Weeks of walking, bound to dozens of other captives, barely fed, sleeping on cold ground. Your homeland, somewhere in Gaul or Germania or Britannia, is now an impossible distance behind you. Your family, if they survived the Roman conquest, will never see you again. This is your reality as a war captive. You are not a citizen. You have no rights. You are property, human merchandise to be bought and sold. Around you, Roman citizens pass by, barely glancing at the rows of chained prisoners. To them, you are less than human, simply the natural consequence of Rome's military superiority. Then a man stops before you. He is not like the other Romans. He moves with a predator's grace, and his eyes scan you with cold professional assessment. He examines your shoulders, your legs, the width of your chest. He is checking you like a farmer would check livestock. This man is a lanista, an owner and trainer of gladiators, and he is shopping for new fighters. After a brief negotiation with the slave dealer, money changes hands. You now belong to this man. You are led away with a small group of other captives, still in chains, through the streets of Rome. Eventually, you arrive at a building that will become your new world, the ludus, the gladiator school. From the outside, it looks like a small fortress, high walls with no windows facing the street, a single heavy gate that slams shut behind you with a sound of absolute finality. This is not truly a school. It is a prison, a training ground, and a business all combined into one. You are taken to a cell. It is small, barely wider than your outstretched arms. There is a stone bench to sleep on and nothing else. The walls are covered in scratches, marks left by previous occupants, names, prayers to unknown gods, crude drawings. These walls have held many men before you, and they will hold many after. The first days are a blur of confusion and fear. You are given a rough tunic to wear, You are fed a basic meal of barley porridge and beans. It is bland and heavy but filling. You learn quickly that food here is not for pleasure. It is fuel, carefully calculated to build muscle and strength. Then the real work begins. You are taken to the training yard, a sandy courtyard in the center of the ludus, surrounded by covered walkways and cells. This is where you will spend most of your remaining life. Here you meet the other gladiators. Some are fellow war captives like you. Others are criminals sentenced to the arena as punishment for their crimes. And to your surprise, there are even a few free volunteers, men so desperate or so foolish that they sold themselves into this life for a signing bonus and the slim hope of fame. You also meet the trainers. These are retired gladiators, men who survived the arena and now pass on their deadly knowledge. They are harsh and unforgiving. They have no interest in your comfort or your feelings. Their job is simple: transform you into a weapon that will win, fight and earn money for the lanista. The training is relentless and brutal. Every single day, from dawn until the light fades, you train. You start with the basics: footwork, balance, how to hold your body. You practice the same movement hundreds, then thousands of times. A single sword strike, repeated until your arm screams in agony. A defensive stance, held until your legs tremble and give out. You train with wooden weapons. The rudis, a wooden practice sword, and a wooden shield far heavier than the real thing. This is intentional. If you can fight with heavy practice weapons, the real equipment will feel light and swift in your hands. You strike wooden posts driven into the ground, the palace, imagining it as an enemy. You circle it, strike it, defend against its imaginary counterattacks. The trainers watch everything. They correct your stance with sharp words and sometimes sharper blows. A mistake means punishment. Disobedience means the whip. This is not a place of kindness. You are being forged, hammered into shape like iron on an anvil. But within this brutal system, you begin to notice something unexpected: a structure, a code. The ludus operates on surprisingly strict rules, and these rules protect you as much as they constrain you. You learn that gladiators are valuable property. Your lanista owner has invested significant money in purchasing and training you. He does not want you damaged or killed unnecessarily. This means you are fed regularly, given medical care when injured, and protected from random violence. Guards patrol the ludus, not just to keep you imprisoned, but to prevent fights between gladiators outside of sanctioned training. You are slaves, but you are expensive slaves, and that gives you a strange kind of safety. You also discover that within the ludus, a hierarchy exists. New recruits like you are at the bottom. Above you are the experienced fighters, men who have survived multiple combats in the arena. At the top are the veterans, the rare survivors of dozens of fights, men who have earned their freedom but chose to remain and fight for pay and glory. These veterans are treated with a respect that borders on reverence. They eat better food. They have larger cells. They are consulted by the lanista on training methods and tactics. You realize that even in this prison, there is a path upward, a way to earn dignity and status through skill and survival. As the weeks turn into months, your body transforms. The endless training and the controlled diet have stripped away any softness. You are lean, muscular, and harder than you have ever been. Your hands are calloused from gripping the practice sword. Your arms and shoulders burn with new strength. But it is not just your body that changes. Your mind adapts as well. The initial terror fades, replaced by a grim acceptance. This is your life now. There is no escape, no rescue coming. The only way forward is through. You must become what they are making. You, a fighter, a gladiator. Then one morning, everything changes. The lanista enters the training yard and calls out several names. Yours is among them. You and 5 other men are told to follow. You are led to a different section of the ludus, to the armory. Here, for the first time, you see the real weapons and armor. The trainer explains that you will soon face your first fight, not in the great Colosseum, but in a smaller arena, in a provincial town. This is a test, a chance to prove your worth and to determine what type of gladiator you will become. There are many different classes of fighters, each with distinct weapons, armor, and fighting styles. You are shown the equipment of the mumio. This fighter carries a large rectangular shield, a short gladius sword, and wears a distinctive helmet with a fish-shaped crest. The mumio is a heavy fighter, relying on defense and powerful strikes. You are told you have the build for this style. Strong shoulders, solid stance. Other men are assigned different roles. One becomes a retiarius, a lightly armored fighter with a trident and net, designed to be quick and evasive. Another becomes a thrax, with a curved sword and small shield, built for aggressive attacking. Each type of gladiator has traditional opponents, matchups designed to create exciting and unpredictable fights for the crowd. Over the following days, you train specifically with your assigned equipment. The real sword is lighter than the practice version, but it carries a weight of a different kind. This is a weapon meant to kill. The shield is solid wood covered in leather and reinforced with metal. It is your primary defense. Your survival depends on it. The helmet is claustrophobic. It has limited vision, just a narrow grille to see through. Inside it, the world becomes smaller, your breathing louder. You must learn to fight half-blind, relying on sound and instinct as much as sight. The trainers stage mock combats now, pitting you against other trainees. These fights are controlled, refereed, stopped before serious injury occurs, but they are fierce nonetheless. This is as close to real combat as you can experience without actual death on the line. Finally, the day arrives. You and the other selected men are loaded into a covered wagon before dawn. The journey to the provincial arena takes most of the day. You sit in darkness, listening to the nervous breathing of your fellow fighters. No one speaks. There is nothing to say. When you arrive, you are taken to a holding area beneath the arena. It is a maze of dark corridors and cells, filled with the sounds of animals in cages. You realize with a chill that some of the entertainment today will involve exotic beasts brought from across the empire. Lions, bears, wild dogs. The crowd wants variety in its violence. You are given your armor and weapons. Attendants help strap the heavy equipment onto your body. The armor covers your sword arm and shoulder with layered padding and metal. Your legs are protected with greaves, metal shin guards. The helmet is lowered onto your head, and suddenly the world becomes muffled and narrow. Then you wait. In the dim underground chamber, you hear the roar of the crowd above. It is like standing beneath a waterfall of human voices. Thousands of people, excited, bloodthirsty, waiting for the spectacle to begin. The sound is overwhelming, almost physical in its intensity. An attendant appears and gestures. It is time. You follow him through a dark tunnel. Ahead, you see a rectangle of blinding bright light. The entrance to the arena. Your legs feel weak, but they carry you forward anyway. There is no choice now, no turning back. You step out onto the sand. The sunlight is shocking after the darkness. The crowd's roar intensifies, crashing over you like a wave. You stand in the center of an oval arena, surrounded by tiers of stone seating packed with spectators. Thousands of faces all looking down at you. waiting to see if you will live or die. Across the arena, your opponent emerges from the opposite tunnel. He is dressed differently than you, a retiarius with his net and trident. This is a classic matchup. Heavy armor and sword against speed and reach. The crowd approves with a fresh roar. An official in a white toga stands at the edge of the arena. He raises his hand for silence, then drops it. The fight begins. Your opponent circles immediately, keeping his distance. The trident has longer reach than your sword, and the net is his primary weapon. If he can tangle you in it, you are finished. Your training takes over. You advance behind your shield, forcing him to react. He feints with the net, testing your reflexes. You keep your shield high, your sword ready. Time seems to stretch and compress. Seconds feel like hours, then suddenly everything happens at once. He throws the net. You see it coming, a spreading web of rope. You dodge sideways, but the edge catches your shield. He yanks hard, trying to pull it from your grip or throw you off balance. You plant your feet and pull back, a test of raw strength. The net slips free. He retreats quickly, resetting his position. You pursue, but not recklessly. Overcommitting will leave you exposed to the trident's 3 sharp points. The crowd is screaming now, but you barely hear them. Your entire world has narrowed to this man and the weapons between you. He makes a mistake, a small one. He steps on a patch of sand that gives way slightly under his foot. His balance shifts for just a moment. You react instantly, rushing forward with your shield. You slam into him with your full weight. He staggers backward, and his trident comes up defensively. You bat it aside with your shield and thrust with your sword. The point finds the gap between his minimal armor, driving into his shoulder. Not a killing blow, but a deep wound. Blood spreads across his skin. He drops to one knee, his trident falling from his weakened grip. The fight is over. You stand above him, sword ready, and look to the official. The crowd's roar changes character. Some are cheering for your victory. Others are shouting for mercy for the defeated man. The official looks up toward the sponsor of the games, the wealthy man who paid for this entertainment. That man makes a gesture, a closed fist with thumb extended horizontally, not up or down, but sideways. The meaning is clear. Mercy. The defeated gladiator fought well enough to deserve to live. You lower your sword and step back. Attendants rush forward to help your wounded opponent from the arena. You are guided back toward the tunnel, and as you walk, the reality of what just happened crashes over you. You fought. You won. You survived. In the holding area, attendants remove your helmet. The air feels impossibly fresh and cool. Your hands are shaking now, the adrenaline draining away, leaving you weak and dizzy. But you are alive. You have crossed a threshold. You are no longer a trainee. You are a gladiator who has shed blood in the arena and lived. The journey back to the ludus is different. The other men who fought today are quiet, each lost in their own thoughts. One man is missing. He was killed in his bout, and his body was carried away through a different gate. The gate of death, where the corpses are disposed of. When you return, you are treated differently. The veterans nod at you with something resembling respect. You have joined their ranks. You are no longer untested. The lanista himself speaks to you, praising your technique and promising that more fights will come. You have proven your value. That night, lying on your stone bench in your cell, you touch the weapons and armor that now belong to you. They have been cleaned and stored for your next appearance, because there will be a next time, and another after that. This is your life now. This is what you have become. The days settle into a new rhythm. Training continues, but Now you work with the experienced fighters. They teach you tricks the trainers never mentioned. How to play to the crowd, because their favor can influence whether you receive mercy or death. How to read an opponent's breathing to anticipate their next move. How to make a wounded opponent look more hurt than they are. To satisfy the bloodlust of the spectators without having to actually kill. You learn that there is an unspoken code among gladiators. In the ludus, you are brothers. You train together, eat together, and support each other. But in the arena, that must be set aside. If you are matched against a friend, you must fight without hesitation. To show mercy or to deliberately lose is forbidden. The lanista is always watching, and such betrayal would be punished severely. You also learn about the culture of the arena. Gladiators, despite being slaves and criminals, occupy a strange position in Roman society. You are simultaneously despised and celebrated. To respectable Romans, you are the lowest of the low, men who kill for entertainment. But you are also famous. People know your name. They cheer for you. Women, even wealthy ones, are fascinated by gladiators, drawn to the deadly charisma of men who face death and survive. Some gladiators embrace this fame. They develop personas, signature moves, and dramatic styles designed to win the crowd's love. The most successful become wealthy, earning prize money and gifts from admirers. They are the rare few who might eventually buy their freedom and retire. But most gladiators, you realize, will never reach that level. Most will fight a handful of times and die in the arena, or they will survive just long enough to be crippled by injuries and discarded. The average career is short and ends badly. This is the truth beneath the glory. The food you eat reflects your status as valuable property. The gladiator diet is specific and carefully controlled. You are fed primarily barley, beans, and vegetables, very little meat. This creates bulk and weight without excess fat, padding your body against cuts and blows. Some call gladiators barley men because of this diet, a term that is both description and insult. You also receive a special drink made from plant ash mixed with vinegar. It tastes terrible, bitter and chalky, but you are told it strengthens your bones and helps you recover from training injuries. Modern scholars would recognize this as a source of calcium and other minerals, but to you it is simply medicine that must be endured. Despite being prisoners, you are also given access to medical care far superior to what most free Romans receive. The ludus has a dedicated physician, a skilled man whose job is to keep fighters healthy and patch them up after combat. He knows anatomy from treating countless wounds. He can stitch cuts, set broken bones, and even perform crude surgery. When you are injured in training or combat, you are taken to the medical room. The physician examines you with professional detachment. If you have a deep cut, he cleans it with wine to prevent infection, then stitches it closed with practiced efficiency. If you have a broken bone, he sets it and immobilizes it with wooden splints and tight bandages. The pain is intense, but you learn to endure it without complaint. Showing weakness gains you nothing. The physician is skilled, but he is not gentle. His job is to return you to fighting condition as quickly as possible, not to comfort you. You also learn about the gods. Many gladiators become deeply religious, and for obvious reasons. When your life can end in an instant based on a slip in the sand or a lucky strike from an opponent, you look for any protection you can find. The barracks are filled with small shrines and offerings. Some men pray to Mars, the god of war, asking for strength and victory. Others appeal to Fortuna, goddess of luck, begging for favorable matchups and sympathetic crowds. There are also mystery, cults, secret religions that promise better treatment in the afterlife for those who die bravely. you begin to participate in these rituals. Before each fight, you make offerings at the small altar in the ludus. A bit of food, a small coin if you have one, a whispered prayer. It may do nothing, but it cannot hurt. In a world where you control almost nothing, these rituals give you the illusion of influence over your fate. As time passes, you fight more often. Some battles are in small provincial arenas before modest crowds. Others are in larger venues, amphitheaters that can hold tens of thousands. Each fight follows the same pattern. The terrible waiting, the walk into the light, the roar of the crowd, the desperate combat, and then either survival or death. You develop a reputation. The crowd begins to recognize you. They call out your fighting name, a title given to you by the lanista to make you more marketable. You learn to acknowledge them, raising your weapon in salute, playing to their emotions. Their favor matters. A popular gladiator is more likely to receive mercy if defeated. You also witness many deaths. Friends you trained with, men you ate beside, fall in the arena. Sometimes it is quick, a sword through the throat or heart, and they are gone before they hit the sand. Other times it is slower, a gut wound or severed artery, and you watch them bleed out while the crowd cheers. You learn to separate yourself emotionally. You cannot mourn every fallen comrade or you will go mad. Instead, you focus on your own survival. You study every opponent, learn from every fight, and constantly refine your skills. This cold pragmatism is the only way to endure. But despite your best efforts, despite your growing skill and experience, you know that luck is the ultimate arbiter. You have seen talented fighters make one small mistake and die for it. You have seen mediocre fighters get lucky and survive against superior opponents. The arena is not fair. It is random and brutal, and eventually, the odds will turn against everyone. Then comes the day that changes everything. You are told that your next fight will be in the Colosseum itself, the greatest arena in the empire. This is the highest stage, where the most important games are held. Tens of thousands will watch. The emperor himself may be present. This is simultaneously an honor and a death sentence. The Colosseum hosts the most spectacular and dangerous events. The fighters are the best, or they are criminals being executed in elaborate stage battles designed to maximize bloodshed. You do not yet know which category you fall into. The preparation is more extensive than usual. You are given better equipment, polished and decorated to look impressive in the vast arena. The lanista himself oversees your training, correcting small flaws in your technique. You are his investment, and he wants you to succeed, to bring glory and profit to his ludus. The day arrives. You are transported to the Colosseum in a heavily guarded wagon. When you arrive, you are led through passages beneath the massive structure, a network of tunnels and chambers where gladiators, animals, and props are stored and organized. The scale of it is overwhelming. This is not a small provincial arena. This is a monument to Roman power and wealth, a statement in stone that Rome can afford to build massive structures solely for entertainment. The holding chambers are crowded with dozens of other gladiators from various schools across Rome. You wait for hours. Above, the games have already begun. You can hear the muted roar of the enormous crowd, the sound filtering down through the stone. Other events are taking place. Animal hunts, executions, staged sea battles in a flooded arena floor. Finally, an official arrives and calls out names. Yours is among them. You are part of a mass combat, multiple pairs of gladiators fighting simultaneously on the arena floor. This is more chaotic and dangerous than a single duel. You must watch multiple opponents, avoid interfering in other fights, and survive the unpredictable nature of battlefield combat. You are given your weapons and armor. The helmet is lowered onto your head, and the familiar claustrophobic darkness closes in. You follow the other gladiators through the tunnels toward the arena entrance. The sound of the crowd grows louder with each step, building to an impossible volume. Then you emerge into the light. The Colosseum is beyond anything you imagined. 50,000 people packed into tiered seating that rises toward the sky. The noise is not just sound. It is a physical force that hits you like a wave. The arena floor is vast, covered in fresh sand that has been raked smooth. The official gives the signal. The combat begins. Immediately, chaos erupts. Pairs of gladiators engage across the arena. You focus on your assigned opponent, a Thrax with his curved sword and small shield. He comes at you, aggressively, trying to overwhelm your defense with quick strikes. You fall back behind your shield, letting him expend energy. This is a longer fight than your previous ones, and stamina matters. Around you, other combats rage. You hear the clash of metal, the grunts of effort, the cries of wounded men. But you cannot let it distract you. Your opponent makes a wide swing, trying to hook around your shield. You step inside his reach and thrust with your short sword. The point catches him in the side, sliding between his ribs. He gasps and drops to his knees. You deliver the finishing blow quickly, a thrust to the throat. He falls. You turn immediately, searching for threats. One of the other gladiators has defeated his opponent and is now looking for a new target. He sees you and advances. This is unusual. The fights are supposed to be paired matches, but in the chaos of mass combat, anything can happen. He is a Mamillo like you, same weapons and armor. This will be a test of pure skill and strength. You engage, shield to shield, each trying to create an opening. The crowd is screaming, but you cannot hear individual voices, just a continuous roar of sound. The fight is brutal and exhausting. Both of you are skilled, defensive fighters, making it difficult to land decisive blows. You trade strikes and blocks, circling, looking for weakness. Then he slips. Just a small loss of balance, but you are ready. You drive forward with your shield, knocking him backward, and thrust low under his shield. Your sword finds his thigh, cutting deep into the muscle. He collapses, unable to stand on the wounded leg. The fight is over. You step back, breathing hard, and look around. Most of the other combats have concluded. Bodies lie on the sand. Victors stand over defeated opponents, waiting for judgment. The crowd's roar changes tone. They are chanting something. It takes you a moment to realize they are chanting for you. Your fighting name, repeated by thousands of voices. You raise your sword in acknowledgement, and the crowd erupts in approval. The sponsor of the games, seated in the place of honor, makes his decisions. Most of the defeated gladiators receive mercy. They fought well, and the crowd is satisfied. The bodies of the dead are dragged away through the gate of death. The victors are led back through the tunnel. In the aftermath, you are treated like a hero. The Lanista is thrilled. You have brought honor to his ludus by performing well in the Colosseum. You are rewarded with better food, a larger cell, and a promise of prize money. You have crossed another threshold. You are now a proven arena fighter, a man who has survived the greatest stage in the Empire. But as the excitement fades, you are left with the same reality. You are still a slave. You still have no freedom, and you will be sent back into the arena again and again until eventually you are defeated and killed. This is the inescapable truth of your existence. Some men do escape this fate. The greatest gladiators, the ones who survive dozens of fights and become famous across the empire, can sometimes earn their freedom. They are presented with a rudis, a wooden sword that symbolizes their release from the oath of the arena. They are free men again, able to leave and live as they choose. But this is rare. Most gladiators die in the arena. Some are killed outright in combat. Others accumulate injuries that eventually cripple them, and they are retired from fighting but remain slaves, used for menial labor until they die. Very few achieve freedom, and even fewer survive long enough to enjoy it. You also learn about the alternatives to the arena. Some gladiators, faced with the certainty of eventual death, choose to end things on their own terms. Suicide is not uncommon in the ludus. Men find ways to kill themselves, preferring a quick, self-inflicted death to a slow destruction in the arena. Others attempt escape. The ludus is a prison, but it is not impenetrable. Over the years, there have been breakouts. But escaping the ludus is only the first step. Where can a runaway gladiator go? You are branded, marked as property. Any Roman who sees you will know what you are. And the punishment for escaped slaves is death, often through crucifixion, a slow and agonizing public execution designed to deter others from trying. The most famous escape attempt in history happened not long before your time. A gladiator named Spartacus led a massive revolt, gathering an army of escaped slaves and fugitives. For a time, they defeated Roman legions and controlled parts of Italy. But eventually, Rome's full military might crush the rebellion. Spartacus died in battle, and thousands of his followers were crucified along the roads leading to Rome, their bodies left to rot as a warning. This story is told and retold in the ludus, both as inspiration and as cautionary tale. It shows that resistance is possible, but also that it is ultimately futile. Rome is too powerful, too vast, too relentless. You cannot truly escape, so you settle into your existence. You train, you fight, you survive. Days become weeks, weeks become months, months become years. Your body accumulates scars, each one a memory of a fight survived. Your skill continues to grow. You become one of the veterans, a man that new recruits look up to, with a mixture of fear and respect. You also become numb. The terror of the arena fades, replaced by a kind of professional detachment. Fighting becomes your job, something you do because it is what you do. The crowd's roar becomes background noise. The bloodshed becomes routine. You have become what they made you, a weapon, a killer, a gladiator. But even veterans fall eventually. You see men who survived longer than anyone thought possible finally make a fatal mistake. They are mourned briefly, then forgotten. New fighters take their place. The machine of the arena grinds on, consuming men and spitting out corpses. You begin to wonder how your story will end. Will it be a quick death in the arena, a sword through the heart before you even realize you've lost? Will it be a crippling injury that leaves you broken and useless? Or will you be one of the rare few who somehow survives long enough to earn freedom? The answer comes in a way you never expected. A change in imperial policy. A new emperor takes power, one who is more sympathetic to the plight of gladiators. A decree is issued. Certain categories of fighters, those who have served a minimum number of years and survived a minimum number of combats, are to be granted freedom. You qualify. After years of blood and sand, after countless battles and too many close calls to count, you are told you are free. You are given your rudis, the wooden sword. You are no longer property. You are a free man. The feeling is strange and overwhelming. You have lived so long under absolute control that freedom feels foreign, almost frightening. Where will you go? What will you do? Your entire adult life has been defined by the arena. You know how to fight and kill. You know nothing else. Some freed gladiators stay in Rome, working as trainers in the schools or as bodyguards for wealthy citizens who want the prestige of employing a former arena champion. Others return to their homelands, if they can remember the way, seeking lost families and old lives that no longer exist. You choose to leave Rome. You take what little money you have saved and buy passage on a ship heading north. You are going home, back to the land where you were captured so many years ago. You do not know if your family still lives or if they will even recognize you, but you need to see it again. You need to close that circle. The journey is long. When you finally arrive in your homeland, everything is different. The village you remember is larger now, changed by time and Roman occupation. You walk through streets that are both familiar and alien. You ask about your family, and an old woman directs you to a farm on the edge of the settlement. You approach slowly. A man is working in the field, too young to be your father, but there is something familiar in his face. When he sees you, he stops and stares. Recognition dawns slowly. He is your younger brother, now grown, now the head of the family. Your father died years ago. Your mother is old, but still alive. The reunion is emotional and awkward. You are a stranger to them, shaped by experiences they cannot imagine. You try to explain what happened to you, but the words feel inadequate. How do you describe the arena, the killing, the crowds, to people who have never left this small farm? You stay with them for a time, trying to rebuild connections that were severed by force and time. But you do not fit here anymore. You are too different, too damaged by what you have lived through. The peaceful life of farming feels alien. You wake at night with the phantom roar of the crowd in your ears, your hands reaching for weapons that are not there. Eventually, you realize you cannot stay. This place, these people, they belong to a version of you that no longer exists. You say goodbye and leave again, this time by your own choice. You wander, taking work as a guard or a fighter, never settling, always moving. You are a man without a home, caught between worlds, and so your story ends not with glory or tragedy, but with a kind of quiet dissolution. You fade into obscurity, just another veteran of the arena, carrying scars both visible and invisible. The crowd that once chanted your name has forgotten you. The empire that used you has moved on to new entertainment, new deaths, but the stories remain. The myth of the gladiator, born from the reality of men like you, grows and changes over centuries. The brutality is softened, the slavery is minimized, the violence becomes heroic rather than tragic. Future generations will look back at the arena and see drama and excitement, missing entirely the human cost, the lives consumed by Rome's appetite for blood sport. The historical gladiators eventually vanish as Rome itself declines. The great amphitheaters fall into ruin. The ludus schools close. The training grounds become silent. The profession that defined so many lives, that killed so many men, simply ceases to exist. But the legend lives on, transformed by time and imagination. Writers and artists in later centuries will resurrect the gladiator, stripping away the grim reality and replacing it with romance. They will create stories of noble warriors fighting for honor and freedom, conveniently forgetting that most gladiators had no choice, no honor, only the desperate hope of surviving one more day. And so, the transformation is complete. The historical reality of the enslaved prisoner, forced to kill for the entertainment of others, has been replaced by the fictional ideal of the heroic warrior, choosing glory and death. The real gladiators, with their barley diet and their scarred bodies and their stolen lives, have been erased, replaced by a myth that is easier to celebrate. This is how history turns. The truth fades, the legend grows, and the people who actually lived through it, who suffered and died for the entertainment of others, become footnotes in a story that was never really about them at all. Thank you for joining me on this journey tonight, from the brutal reality of the arena to the birth of a timeless legend. Our exploration is now complete. I hope you'll return as we continue to uncover the truths hidden beneath the myths of history. I wish you a calm and peaceful night.